Kenya is on the cross. This is what the Standard is holding today. Just going with the spirit of Easter as well. And just as we know it, they're saying Judas Iscariot kissed Jesus Christ to betray him to Herod's men. Kenyan MPs cuddle the populace at the altar of taxation. And as Christians honor the sacrifice Christ made for humanity, Kenyans are reeling with empty pockets this holiday weekend. The effects of high levies and a battered economy. Right, this is what we're looking at, and just looking at the latest development in the country as well. As far as politics is concerned, we have a new team in town as well called Team Ground. Is it now trying to propagate the generation exit? And we have an incoming of a new generation to take over politics as well. If you saw what we ran you by in our news bulletin earlier this morning. And I'm holding court this morning, just to remind you, if you're joining us with Dr. Martin Olo, who's an advocate. Also, he is the head of department, School of Law at the Teste University. Also, we do have with us Kipruto Rapkirwa. He is a governance and policy analyst. Professor Fred Ogola is an economist. And also, we have Professor Jonah Kindiki, who is a governance and policy analyst. So yes, let's just continue pace with that conversation. I know we ran you by that particular story of Jesus, and I could see almost Kipruto Rapkirwa is trying to get a whippy teary face, remembering what Jesus did for us on the cross. I can see his eyes getting contrite.
He's born again by the time he lives here. Again, for the second time. Again.
Indeed. But this latest development as well, and I know you were taking a stab at you that now this is a generation exit. You should forget about politics, as it were. But do you hold with this view? And what do you see when you see these young men and women now congregating and saying, you know, we are listening to the ground. We want the center to speak to the periphery.
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting discourse, and I just wanted to remind my good friend, Dr. Martin Olo, that politics is very interesting. At times people may even change and say, we don't want these young people. We want people who are more experienced. Remember, Abdoulaye Wade, president of Senegal, tried for 35 years to be president. And at the age of 81, he was elected, and he did 2 terms. So anything is possible in Africa.
Don't give up.
Don't give up. My good friend, Joseph Boakai of Liberia, he became president the other day at the age of 79. I'm not yet 69. So I still got 10 years to be president in Kenya. So don't dismiss me so fast.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
No, I knew it was in the chess. You know, Martin likes playing around with me because he believes that.
But some of these just, you know, they've got some nuances layered there, yeah?
It doesn't worry me. You know, he has been seeing me for so long that he thought I'm an old man. And I also wanted to assist him.
And he started politics when we were very young.
Yes, I was 31.
Imagine.
And I've been there now for over 30 years. It tells you I'm over 60, but not 70. Now, but I wanted just to remind him, for historical purposes, that the youngest cabinet was the cabinet of Mzee Kenyatta. It was the youngest cabinet because really, apart from somebody like Koinange, who could have been above 50, the rest of them were under 30, under 40. Some of them under 30, like the late Zachary Onyonka. Even President Kibaki was under 30. So in terms of historical perspective, yes, Ruto's cabinet is younger than the cabinet that has just left town, but it is not the youngest. The youngest was that of President Kenyatta. And that's why he acquired a father figure, where everybody going to him was like going to inform him or seeking his wisdom. And he was not feeling threatened like some other people who felt his ministers were threatening him until he was demoting some of them, sacking some of them. That is the history of Kenya, and it's always useful just to remind you that this space can be occupied by anybody. So don't write me, but I don't mind going to Addis. Addis is a good town. I was there, Addis Ababa, I was there for 4 years, and I can give you experience off camera. Off camera, so that you can also advise whoever is going to Addis. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So do you think this particular group will play a very pivotal role? If it gains traction, that is. We cannot just dismiss it.
It is important.
Will it really in any way upset the apple cart,
Yeah,
the apple cart in 2027?
It is important for us to remind ourselves of the recent history. You remember there was what we were calling, Mageuzi, led by Orengo and others. And I remember at some stage, I was part of that Mageuzi. At some stage I told them, we need a blend. And by the time we came and formed the NAC, it was a mixture of the old and the young, and the not so young, the middle-aged. Society cannot just be a reflection of young people. At times you need some of the name recognition, people who can be trusted. Because in Kenya today, the main problem is lack of trust. And at times some of these young people may be so good, the way the president was when he was campaigning, but possibly we cannot trust them 100%. We need some names that we know. If so-and-so is there, we can trust that what they are telling us is true. And you can only be trusted if you have some track record of what you've been doing. Some of those individuals, yes, they may be very good in agitating, but are they really prepared to do the donkey work? The worst thing is when you are sitting in an office, it is so painful. It's like for those who have been teaching, it is interesting to teach. But when you go through the script, because once I was a teacher, marking, some handwriting not so clear, some ideas not coming straight, but you must be careful not to deny a child a mark. Because if they compare the scripts, especially at our level, at the university level, I don't know, at our level, because I was teaching in high school, you have to be careful. It is so painful to mark, but it is easy to teach. So it is also easy to campaign, but when it comes to sitting behind a desk and ensuring that the policy direction that you've given is implementable and the timelines are clear, and also the processes are within the law and the resources are available, that takes a bit of time. And that is where some of these young people may not have taken time to think through the problems facing Kenya. Yeah.
All right. Professor Kineki?
Well, the team ground or whatever they are calling themselves, they are doing a significant approach to politics.
They're putting out the feelers.
Yeah, they want to have the feeling of what is on the ground. But actually, you see the Kenya Kwanza narrative is the same thing of Asla and the dynasty. The reason why we are talking of the age gap between the old and young, actually the age doesn't determine so much the position we are going to be elected, but in our situation, it is. And Mheshimiwa has given several countries, even the United States, the most developed democracy. The current president is quite a aged man, and the one who is opposing him, Trump, is also, I think, nearly 80 years. He's over 70-something years. So we are saying that what brings people the cohesiveness is one challenging factor. And when I look at the team ground, the challenging factor of the hustlers or the team ground, common man, you can give any name, of the common people, it is poverty. That makes them the cohesiveness. And they feel there are people somewhere in the upper class who could be maybe elected leaders or appointed, selected, whatever process is taken in order to put them in those offices. They feel that they have privileges which they do not enjoy. And therefore the only weapon they have is the vote. So the team ground, the common people feel now that we need representation. And any politician, you can watch and you look at the statistics, even the ones who are in parliament today, those who could read the changes of the times, they were easily elected because they promise people what they can deliver. That is now the challenge that they are facing. That's why Mheshimiwa was saying that it's easy to get elected, but it's another thing to sit on that desk now, and now you get the concern and trying to implement policy. Does it work? Because it affects the output. So first of all, you as an officer in charge of that position in the politics, your work is really jeopardized because you are not effective. Reason is you can deliver the promises. And the cohesiveness of the team ground is poverty, unemployment, and those are the common factors that people are looking for. They want jobs. They want to earn some kind of income, even on daily basis, even not even much, even to put food on the table. Those are now you can see the doctors on strike. Now the common person who cannot afford the medical bills in private hospitals, you find that they are told to go home. The issue of the fertilizer, people are talking and the farmers are talking. Why are they talking? Because they thought that they'll use less input and then get more output. All these we can give so many examples, but we are talking of what brings people together. It is either poverty and employment. Those common factors are the ones that are not being addressed. And I think going forward as a country, we need to revisit our decisions and the why and where we are leading people to. And we are talking of leadership, we are talking of governance. Some of the leaders, they just go very fast, they're in their position, and then they realize that they're not delivering. And that's where the challenge is. Now they start saying, oh, we didn't read this one, oh, this one is coming too late, oh, this one is happening. They give so many excuses. But whatever the case, if anybody who is going to have a say in this, in the next few the elections that are coming, second or third, from 2027 to 2032 going forward, they are the people who are going to be with the common person because they can listen to their views, even if he is not going to solve them. So you better, that's why you get these young people coming up to be elected. But one day one of them will be elected and maybe may be able to solve this problem. But we are saying before we reach there, we should start now. We should not wait for a time which is, not defined, that that is the time when we are here. Even now we are looking about the death and the resurrection of Jesus Christ. People, we need to do the right thing when we are when we are on earth and when we are living, rather than waiting for the life which will come and we don't know when. It's only God who knows. So we have to do good things to other people. We love other people. We propagate peace, love, and so that we bring our people together and we help the common person. Because really, if you look in our country, many people are suffering a lot. And this is the problem. And there's a big divide between the poor and the rich. And the gap is widening on a daily basis.
Thank you. Right, let's hear from Prof. Ogola on this as well. Because I know you're one of the youthful faces, and Linda Katiba, Linda Jamii is one of your rallying call as well.
Yeah.
Do you think this Linda Jamii mantra that you're trying to propagate is trying to speak to the current situation, like the team ground, because it's putting fillers on the ground at the end of the day? Will you also mind joining team ground at the end of the day? Because it can snowball and gather all the young people in this country, because young faces world over have been the poster child of change. If we just begin with the Arab Spring, right, what they call it the Jasmine Revolution, and Mohamed Bouaziz, the self-immolating young man who was frustrated because at the end of the day could not really function properly, not given conducive environment to operate his business. You have the Kanjo of their place coming to, upset his apple cart, pour his sells, vegetables, and so he was frustrated, and that's how we had a revolution now arising. Is this a time for revolution? Are these young people having something? Have they read the politics of the day? They can see the exit of Raila Odinga is imminent. If he really garners this, there will be a vacuum. Will this TG be filling this particular vacuum? Looking at ODM and Azimio as it stands right now, we wonder if also Honorable Kiro will be still in Azimio. We'll see the disintegration of ODM. That's a fact. Already you can see the factions within, Joho and Oparanya, and the two factions now trying to fill this particular vacuum which is there. And Badi. Yeah. So Badi, of course, and his role as a chair will come and say, hey, it is premature to start calling for leadership to take over before we have the official exit of the team leader?
First of all, just as by the way, there's something laughable about Mbadi, because Mbadi was a chairman of ODM and could not get the ticket to Homa Bay. I ask myself, which powers that Mbadi actually has that he can actually dictate deputy party leaders, but that's a story for another day. Let me focus on what is important. Linda Jami is very different from these team grounds, in fact, ideologically and philosophically. And let me tell you something. The book I wrote on 10 lessons from 1,000 strategies, the last chapter, I said Jesus as my ultimate strategist. And actually Jesus was. And let me explain this. Jesus began Christianity when other religions were already big enough. And you can agree with me that Christianity is the largest religion in the world. Judaism was there before him. Arguably, because I do church history, even Islam was ahead of it. But it has become the largest religion in the world. And why? Because Christianity had the best value proposition. And I can actually explain this in simple terms. If you read Matthew chapter 5, we have the Beatitudes. Then after that, Jesus talks about, you have heard, and I say, like you've heard, if you kill someone, if you beat someone to death, you've committed murder. But I say, if you look at your brother or sister and wish them dead, you have killed. You've heard, if you sleep with somebody's woman, you commit adultery. But I say, if you look at somebody's wife and look at them lustfully, you have equally committed what? Adultery. What did he say? That now Christian religion must be lived not just physically, because it was an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. It was more physically. If I beat you physically, I kill you, I've killed you. But spiritually, if I don't even desire to kill you, I can't kill you. If I don't even desire to sleep with a woman, I can't do it. If I don't desire to steal money, I can't. If I don't desire to be corrupt, I can't. So if I don't look at money and I'm attracted to it and wish that I could accumulate all the money, if I become a head of state, I wouldn't steal money. So if you live and you win the spiritual battle, that's why the value proposition is higher. And remember, this sermon is called the Sermon on the Mountain. First of all, remember there was no mountain mentioned. I'm a theologian. The mountain here was elevating the speech to a higher level. It's a theological analogy to say, this is a sermon that was on a higher level. It was not just like any other sermon. It's called the Sermon on the Mountain. And if you look at what I'm trying to explain here now with the issue of team ground, they can be on the ground, whatever it is. They can say ground and ground. But the truth of the matter is, what is their purpose of leadership? Do they have a value proposition for this country? If you look at them really, and you look at their record, some of them are the youngest MPs in Parliament. Have they ever sponsored any bill to help these young people they are now saying team ground? You know, there's a time when young MPs came to Parliament, Jaguar came in, they came in, many of them, but I've never seen them actually doing anything pro-youth. They have never thought about it. Economically, have you seen any economic blueprint those people have that can paint to this country, that can make people follow them? And you know, in strategy, we say, what is leadership? Leadership is about followership. The fact that you are being followed, do you know where you're taking people? Do you know that we have a president where 53 million people are following him and he has no clue where he's taking us? In fact, do you know why the president is very frustrated and gets angry and shouts at people? Because he does not know where he's taking them. Can you imagine, Debal, if you are given to be in charge of Standard Media? You have been the leader now. Now everyone is looking at you. You do not know where Standard Media should be going. You can be frustrated until you start shouting at people. You can be so angry at them. The problem is not them. When you see the president being angry in a rally, he's looking at these people. They have no food. They have no employment. They have no income. You cannot do anything, only tax them. And when they complain, you get annoyed. You don't know where you want to take this country. So the question I'm asking here, this team ground, what is their value proposition that will take Kenya to another level? Because Jesus said, I've come so that the blind can see. I've come so that the cripple can walk. Is the cripple going to walk, or it is just good branding? So that's what is my main point. But I think there was something I was supposed to comment. I'll go there a little bit. On the issue of fake fertilizer, because there's something that I thought was important there.
I think you'll take us back.
No, it's just important because I'm sure this should not go unsaid. Mm-hmm. I think for me, the most important thing there is not about losing harvest this year. The fertilizer we are having is, a fertilizer should have a minimum of 70% organic content. This one is almost 100% chemical. When you pour it on the ground, it will have a permanent and a chemical change on the soil. So forever, yes, that forever, this soil will be unsuitable for agriculture. And what will you do to reverse that one? I don't know. But if you have any solution, it will be very expensive. So is it not just about them bringing for us GMO? Is it that this is a discussion in the West so that our soil can be destroyed, so forever we can become beggars and we can never ever see food security in this country? Because for me, the consistency in fakeness is amazing. We have a fake cabinet, probably, because the cabinet as constituted is unconstitutional. We are in court with it, isn't it? Hustler Fund is a fake thing, isn't it? You go to e-citizen, does not work. Sugar was actually also fake, that was dangerous. Edible oil has been mentioned, fertilizer. Content creators are being promised, you are going to make this. We have fake promises. So for me, the main problem is that the consistency with which we are going to the wrong direction is out of this world. But let me go and say, for me, what is this root cause? Because we talk about root cause analysis.
Connected to Easter.
Yes, connected to Easter, of course. I've already done that, by the way. You see, I'm sure he needed an Easter break. So connected to the main thing is that before, if you said you are educated and qualified and you want to run for member of parliament, you'll be elected on that competency, isn't it? You'll be elected on qualification. That's why you could spend 1 million to become an MP, isn't it? But now our populace, they see money more important than competence. They see money more important than vision. And they elect you based on how much money you have spent. And that's why the virtuous people who can access this money, which is illegitimate money, get there. And how does it begin? And I told you, the select panel for IBC, first of all, will bribe to be in those panels. After the select panel has bribed to be in that panel, the people who want to become IBC commissioners will bribe to be selected. How do they recover their money once in office? If you want to be president, you heard when Tuju said in live camera that Chebukati went to his house to look for money, isn't it? So I don't know whether the truth is, but I believe that all elected officials somehow or other have to part with the money to IBC to get elected. Now, if these MPs who are called Tugege also had to part with money, when they come here, now they are selling what they have, passing the bill or rejecting the bill, passing the budget or rejecting the budget. So they have also again to be what? To be given money to pass the bill. They approve ministers. That's why we have the most unqualified cabinet secretary in history, because money has to move. These people, when they are applying to be shortlisted, the PSS and also heads of parastatal, all those positions, for you to be shortlisted, there are some places where people had to pay 1.5 million shillings, 2 million shillings to qualify. And that's why, in spite of non-performing cabinet, the president cannot fire them. Remember last time he told them, I know more than you know. And he asked them to write a letter of apology for coming late. No one wrote these letters. And he cannot do anything because they helped him to be, they paid to be in those positions. And now, for example, the CS for Agriculture is the most unqualified person to run the Ministry of Agriculture, but he's there. Maybe he bought that position. Now, who knows whether now he's trying to recoup his investment. You go to everywhere where you have to spend money first before qualification.
Thank you.
Then your delivery is not the issue. So for me, the biggest problem is there. Lastly, let us separate politics from serious issues. One, health. You're playing your doctor's life here. Are we focusing, are you trying to play politics, people's health?
Thank you.
You go to the issue of fertilizer and other things. So if
Thank you.
if you take serious matters seriously, you separate them from just politics. And I think this is what we need to go to.
Right. And that's the issue of the nature of ODM as it stands right now, the future of ODM. Where is it headed? The exit of Baba, if at all it really comes to fruition at the end of the day. Are we seeing the splint of ODM? And will that be the final death knell of a vibrant opposition in this country? And will now TG really take over? I like what he's saying, that, sometimes in this country we have this notion that youth is the youthful currency. Being youth, then it qualifies you to get these positions at the end of the day. But what is the value proposition that you lay on the table? It is not just your youthful face, but what do you bring with your youthful face at the end of the day?
Dibal, the issue of Team Ground is not really a 2027 issue. It's a post-2027 issue. So what you are seeing are people angling themselves for a conversation as to root or not.
Of course.
First, Baba. So that is a conversation that we have to live with. But there is also a reality that we must come to, and the reality came from the hustler narrative. What is it that Ruto did, or how did he endear himself and eventually actually got himself where he did? In the narrative on dynasties, now these guys are not talking about bottom up, but they're talking of ground. There's no difference between that and what you worry about bottom up. But they're saying that we see that the people on the ground are suffering, the poverty levels and so on. So there's a narrative there. But again, we needed to link it back to what we are saying today, because we want to make sure that even as we look at the politics, we ask ourselves, so where are we going with this politics in the bigger scheme of things? And I would be interested in the Romans, and I would be still interested back to where Jesus was. What was at play when Jesus was about to be crucified? There was the issue of being right, and there was the issue of also going with the people. And so, Pontius Pilate sitting there, not being able to find something that he would pin Jesus on, or would make him be the one that makes that decision, throws that back to the people. And what do we see? The people, in their wisdom or lack of it, given an opportunity between Jesus and Barabbas, the people went for Barabbas. They said,
give us Barabbas.
Give us Barabbas. Now that is a political phenomenon. So it's not about right, it's not about who is the best qualified. It's where the people are sitting and what their choice is. So even the choice to give Jesus crucifixion as a way of death was not commensurate with the crime they were accusing him with. Because crucifixion was a Roman law or a Roman requirement for when somebody had killed. For example, when a slave killed their owner, that's all the slaves.
The capital offense.
Yeah, it was a capital offense. All the slaves would be stripped and crucified. So imagine what they're accusing Jesus with and the penalty they're giving for that. That is a lesson that this Easter must also bring to our politics.
A travesty of justice.
The travesty of justice. But more importantly, the unreasonableness of human beings. That what you think is good is not. For example, you would think that Kenya Kwanza, sitting where they sit, they would be so reasonable and want the best for themselves and for Kenyans. No, they don't care. Look at what they're doing on agriculture. Look at what they're doing on corruption. So you would think that the human beings are reasonable when they come together. The common denominator is that they don't become reasonable. We saw that in the Jesus case. We continuously see that in politics. If you want to compare our politics with the American politics. Who is Trump and what is Trump's agenda? And how different is Trump from any of these characters we see walking our streets here in Nairobi? Yet he gains traction. Yet people say, that is our guy. They say he is with the conservative Christians. They say, that is our man. And the man has scandals from here and there. And I told my friend, Professor Ogola here, that as long as he continues to look purist and he continues to look like somebody who is in the seminary and he wants politics, we want a bit of scandals from him. That way we'll get to know who he is. Because when you look at people who are popular in this scenario, they have scandals. And so I wanted to connect it back that what people tend to agree and extol doesn't look reasonable most of the time. Yet they tend to have their way.
But we need to question why they have scandals and they choose to go to the, to the podium of politics. Is it to sanitize themselves so that now at the end of the day, the power that be protects them? We need to question that. And then again, when we have people who have their names besmirched by all these scandals, is it that also people who have good nobility of character, like he is, so to speak, we do not know him. He claims that he's a theologian.
We don't know.
He was in seminary. We don't know. We don't know why.
Yeah.
If he was ousted out of seminary, if he completed, or there were scandals.
Why
we can dig that.
seminary is what- those are the kind of things
And
we
what
want to
really
know.
changed that now he's become a politician and not a priest.
Not a priest,
Because
yeah.
initially he started off as you wanted to be a priest. Did you want
But
to
I
be
became a professor first.
No,
If
no,
I
no,
had
no,
bad
no, no,
record.
no. Let's just find the trajectory. What was your initial ambition when joining the seminary? You wanted to become a priest?
Yeah, my father was a catechist. And
No, we're talking beginning with you. Don't go to your father.
No, but I'm saying that's the reason. We only knew that as the only profession.
So you
that
only
was
knew?
going to. My grandfather
So
was
it
a
was not really a
catechist.
vocation.
My father some of these vocations are inherited.
This-
A tea doesn't fall very far from there.
Some of vocations are inherited.
No,
to
no,
take
no.
him
But
back
you see,
to their
there was
purpose,
my father was a catechist. I didn't want to become a catechist. I wanted to be a priest. But you see, the person who's paid my school fees, the person whom I knew from all the beginning was a priest. I could see a lot of values in him. May God rest his soul in peace. Father Jerry Moy, he died last month. Actually this month. He was buried this month in Holland at a very advanced age. So the examples we saw him doing, the things we saw him able to sacrifice, even to eat our own food in the village, which was very horrible for Wazungus, to sometimes spend in our houses. I wanted to become a missionary where you could actually go help people out there.
He inspired you.
Yes, he inspired me.
Fantastic.
And I was in the seminary for 8.5 years. I only missed finishing by 3 months. I just missed it
Why?
by a whisker. 3 months.
Why?
That's a scandal.
That's the scandal there.
Let me say, it's not a scandal. It's not a scandal. Let me know, because you guys, you cannot crucify me on television. The value of to give me time, I clarify
crucifying.
this. You have to, because today is Friday.
This is Easter.
Today is Friday. Let me explain myself so that Pilate can decide on this. I was in, by the time I was being dismissed from, I didn't leave on my volition.
Yeah.
I was dismissed from seminary. And I say this openly. By the way, I will tell you my life that if you want to achieve a lot, you need to have a lot of crisis in life. I've had crisis, no scandals.
Okay.
So I was in Tangaza College, and my colleagues know Tangaza College had people from all the cushion. There were people who were from South America, Europe, US, and there was a lot of academic competition. So because of this academic competition and no jealousy and envy is anything to go by, someone told my superior that I hate white people with a passion. And that's how I was dismissed. Actually, it's good to remember this one today. And eventually, I was kicked out. He found me working with Wazungus. I did my PhD in a university I was the only black. So this goes against the grain.
Actually, that's not a good scandal.
No.
You went to Spain, you did what?
So you see, there was nothing wrong with that. There was nothing wrong with that. But treat for another day, good people, just like in politics also. Religion is very close to politics.
Yes.
If you are too straightforward, sometimes you don't make it in religion even to become a priest. Because God writes in a crooked line. Remember Moses, who led the Israelites, was a murderer. Is it not?
No.
Moses murdered.
Is it?
Yes, he murdered.
All right. I think that's a theology for another day. And I think
even politics
I
also.
don't want to leave our viewers confused before qualifying these things and getting counter arguments, because we might leave them just with one side of the opinion. But as I mentioned earlier, I think I even lost my track of thought. He was talking about
Professor.
He was talking about
Team ground.
No, team ground and having nobility of character.
Odium.
No. The question I was raising was the youthful faces. It is not just a currency that you need. You need a proposition that is on the table, something of substantial. Because most of them, they say, no, we want to be leaders because we're young. But do they have anything that will be of substance that they can bring on the table at the end of the day? So just gathering a number of youthful faces does not warrant it at the end of the day as a currency.
You know, what worries me is that the next election will be a defining moment for some of them. So if what Professor Kindiki was saying, that it's not about this, the coming election is about post-Ruto, then it worries me, because the next election, those who will go through may still survive, but the numbers may have been decimated by the very process of electioneering. So if they want to be relevant, they must see whether the ground is homogeneous throughout the country, so that they survive from wherever they come from. Otherwise, some grounds may be so slippery that some of them may not see the next parliament. And once you are out of parliament, your currency sort of goes down in a way that they will not be able again to create the same momentum that they are trying to create now. If I was to give them advice, that blend your team, and I'm not inviting myself to the team, blend your team, because society is a reflection of the old, the young, and the not so young. They should blend their team so that when they're on the ground, there are people who are laying strategies for them. Otherwise, they may end up going to the ground, and the ground may shift so fast that somebody may come and sweep. Look at the build-up to 2002. Nobody knew Kibaki was going to be the president in 2001. And even some of the ratings, they were thinking of Saitoti, Ngala, people like Raila and others. But eventually Kibaki became the most popular individual when all the factors conspired to bring him to the fore, partly because of disintegration of KANU, and partly because of the build-up that we had done in NAK. Finally, also, at times we write obituaries every day, including that of ODM. It may not disintegrate. In my opinion, ODM may still be here much longer. And if I was to advise Prime Minister Raila, is to look for a blend among the coalition partners to see whether they cannot collapse this between Kalonzo, Eugene, ODM itself, and bring another formation that is not a coalition, but an homogeneous party that will take us beyond this. Because ODM has been there, thanks to Raila, but as you know, in this country, no party has formed the government twice for the last 25 years. And that should be a worrying trend. Since KANU left, no other party has formed the government twice, whether it is NAC, whether it is Kenya Kwanza, or whatever, or Jubilee, whether it is URP and the other one. So it is worrying that we are killing parties. And you see, the common thing, Dibal, that can kill tribalism is if we build genuine, organic political entities.
Right. But as a matter of interest, even as we are considering to just give our headline thoughts, I was wondering, Mheshimiwa Kirwa, which party are you on right now?
I'm in DAP. DAPK.
Oh, you're in DAPK?
Yes, I'm in DAPK.
Okay.
Yeah, when you see Natembe and Trans Nzoia, that's my governor.
That's your governor?
Yeah, that's my governor.
You know why we are having problems with fertilizer? Because DAP fertilizer became a political party.
It became a party.
You want to blame it on me?
DAP fertilizer became a party. There are issues there.
I think DAP should join Kenya Kwanza because your time is up. If you look at ODM now, it's winding up, and also DAP should be winding up. Already you are a fake because you are talking about fake fertilizer. But anyway, having said that, the discussion of the young people is post the Kwanza government. That is 2032. Because the presidents have been set in this country, and if the question is true that once you are elected as president, you run for 5 years, another 5 years, I've not seen a situation unless something happens, which I don't think it will happen anyway, that this government is going to run for 10 years. But we are talking about after 10 years, who is going to take over? And the young people have an agenda. They have an agenda. But the challenge they have The challenge is have the content of the agenda. The agenda is that they want to change, but they don't have the content. That's why we're asking, what value do they put in the team ground, or even the hustler issue? That's why it's a bit fluid. People are not very coming up strongly to say these are dynasties and these are hustlers.
Thank you.
Because even the hustlers now have joined the dynasty, indirectly. So I think we need to put value and the content to our agenda so that we remain relevant in future.
Right, thank you.
In politics of this country.
Right, thank you. Gentlemen, I think we need to wind up right now. So I'll just give 30 seconds to each of you as we're winding up.
Yeah,
30 seconds.
Yeah, Debal, I still request that we should revisit our values and make sure that we change this country, because the future is very bleak unless we change our attitude and our value proposition.
Thank you. Fred.
Mine is just simply to say that it's a time when we need to start right, not hurry with terms and slogans. And that's why I'm inviting all people. Let us set up the right people in the bus. Let us not even worry who will do what. Once we have the right people inside the bus, you can decide where they are sitting. And once you do the sitting arrangement, then you can take the country somewhere.
Thank you. Dr. Ali.
Easter is not about safari rally, just like Christmas is not about chapatis and celebrations. It's a time for us to reflect on our lives and to improve the quality of our lives and retune with our Maker.
Retune with your Maker, right.
Yeah, I'm wishing all Christians a happy, good Friday as we look forward to the death and the resurrection of our Lord Jesus Christ. This is a great day for Christians all over the world, so I wish them well as we celebrate this important festival. And on top of that, we look at values that are missing in our society about love, peace, and bringing even employment to young people. And we address the real issues that are affecting our community.
Gentlemen, I've enjoyed the conversation. Thank you very much. I really appreciate also sacrificing your time this morning to be with us. Really do appreciate your input. And yes, that's the season that we're in. It's Easter, and Jesus is the name of the game. We want to leave with you this particular song as we're winding up. Real Men Love Jesus. Enjoy your Easter holiday.